Good morning, rise and shine, or rising and shine, I guess.
That's a good, let's change the name.
I've never said that, I don't think, not once in 5 years.
I'm bringing out the best in you, the sunshine and rainbows.
Yes, you are. Well, I'm glad to see you in such a positive mood. I know you had a harrowing journey back to our fair city.
It was a disaster. I'm just getting acclimated to D.C. and you missed one Amtrak. Acela Express cost $1 million.
She drove here from New York in the middle of the night.
I just drove in the middle of the night.
That's crazy.
It was ridiculous. But thank you to the Avis team that allowed me to get a car the same day in the middle of Manhattan.
So, glad you made it.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here, and I'm delirious. Coming up on Rising, California Governor Gavin Newsom is taking action against masked ICE agents, but will the new bill be enforceable?
And plus, Governor Josh Shapiro is taking a jab at former President Kamala Harris.
And I'll be
Vice President, excuse me, not the President.
Yeah, and I'll be discussing how the right seems to be betraying their free speech principles when it comes to Jimmy Kimmel. But first, Robby, what is on your radar today?
Oh, I have a similar subject that I'm addressing. Now, according to the latest news, as you just announced, Lindsay, Jimmy Kimmel is negotiating a return to late night after being yanked off the airwaves following his deplorable comments implying that Tyler Robinson, the alleged murderer of Charlie Kirk, was actually part of the MAGA gang. Of course, everything we've learned about Robinson suggests he was not himself part of MAGA. Rather, he allegedly killed Kirk because Kirk was MAGA. Kimmel should not have implied otherwise. He's not alone, of course. Incorrect notions about the suspect's political tribe have remained enduringly popular in liberal media circles. One of the top mainstream liberal Substack writers, Heather Cox Richardson, wrote last week that the motive of the alleged shooter remains unclear. This is simply not true. Interviews with Robinson's friends, family members, as well as text messages between Robinson and his roommate, his transgender romantic partner, paint a clear portrait of a man who found Kirk's conservative views harmful. Now, while Kimmel is a comedian rather than a newscaster, given how paranoid the mainstream media is about the spread of so-called misinformation, the criticism of Kimmel on this subject was well-deserved. And private businesses, private media companies, well, they're allowed to make decisions about their own programming and decide they don't want to employ, broadcast, or platform someone they disagree with, or someone who's losing money because the audience doesn't like it. Free speech means freedom from government coercion. It does not mean freedom to say whatever you want on somebody else's dime. And so the decision to suspend Kimmel was made by ABC after Nexstar Media and Sinclair Broadcast Group decided not to air him on their local stations. In the interest of full disclosure, Nexstar is the parent company of The Hill, program you're watching. But here's the bigger issue. Again, it's fine to take Kimmel off the air. It's just not okay for the government to take Kimmel off the air. Unfortunately, the Federal Communications Commission, very unwisely in my view, decided to insert itself in this matter. Brendan Carr is chair of the FCC. Not only did he criticize what Kimmel had to say, he also implicitly pressured the broadcasters. Take a look what he said during an interview with conservative influencer Benny Johnson.
But frankly, when you see stuff like this, I mean, look, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. These companies can find ways to change conduct, to take action, frankly, on Kimmel, or, there's going to be additional work for the FCC. Again, there's actions that we can take on licensed broadcasters. And frankly, I think that it's really sort of past time that a lot of these licensed broadcasters themselves push back.
We can do this the easy way or the hard way. It's not an idle threat. The FCC licenses broadcast channels and can fine them or even take them off the air. The FCC can make life very difficult for companies that defy it. So I'll say it once again. Private companies have the right to determine their programming as they see fit. And a washed-up comedian telling lame jokes about a subject he is clearly misinformed on for a declining number of viewers as part of a media format that is antiquated and perpetually losing money is not a recipe for riveting television, in my humble opinion. Letting Kimmel and the rest of the late-night crowd go extinct is perfectly fine. It's a business decision. But it is not the FCC's decision. As Glenn Greenwald put it, I couldn't have said it better myself, this shouldn't be a complicated or difficult dichotomy to understand. Jimmy Kimmel is repulsive, but the state has no role in threatening companies to fire on-air voices it dislikes or who the state believes is spreading disinformation, which is exactly what happened here. Moreover, the Trump administration's actions are functionally equivalent to the Biden administration's attacks on private social media companies, which caused numerous free speech infringements during the COVID-19 pandemic. Recall that President Biden, who accused Facebook of killing people when it declined to censor anti-vaccine content, as well as his comm staffers, were likely motivating factors behind a whole host of regrettable moderation decisions made by Facebook at the behest of the White House, the CDC, and other government agencies. when federal employees use the threat of regulation, fines, and other forms of punishment to induce private companies into self-censorship. It's known as jawboning. That's the term. Now, whether this practice violates the First Amendment, which constrains the government's ability to restrict speech, that's not entirely a settled matter. In Murphy v. Missouri, the Supreme Court declined to rule that the Biden administration had violated the First Amendment rights of social media users. The case is also known as Missouri v. Biden. The majority decision, however, had to do with standing and did not actually address the arguments of the plaintiffs. Many free speech scholars rightly believe that the First Amendment rights of private media companies and their users will not be protected until and unless the court makes clear that this sort of behavior from federal bureaucrats, jawboning, is wrong. Ironically, FCC Chair Carr has strongly denounced jawboning in the past and in general been a strong supporter of the First Amendment rights. He frequently called out the Biden administration for engaging in this very practice, writing in August of 2022, "This is very concerning. The government does not evade the First Amendment's restraints on censoring political speech by jawboning a company into suppressing it. Rather, that conduct runs headlong into those constitutional restrictions, as Supreme Court law makes clear." There's simply no way to square this circle. If it's wrong for the Biden administration to pressure social media companies to serve the public interest as defined by Biden and censor fraud content, then it's wrong for the Trump administration to pressure broadcasters to enforce a Trump-defined public interest. Don't just take my word for it. Senator Rand Paul and Senator Ted Cruz, they both agree with me. Cruz said the FCC's actions here were dangerous as hell. That's a direct quote from him. That all conservatives should oppose the FCC trying to pressure companies to make editorial decisions of this kind. And Paul said the following.
You can be fired for not being popular also. I mean, this is television, for goodness sakes. You have to sell sponsorships. You have to sell commercials. And if you're losing money, you can be fired. But the government's got no business in it, and the FCC was wrong to weigh in, and I'll fight any attempt by the government to get involved with speech. I will fight.
Good for them. Cruz and Paul are exactly right on this. I totally agree with them.
I'm glad I'm doing my lens on this because I have a lot to say, but I will respond to some of what you said. I think what the Trump administration is doing, it's like they're trying to just get rid of anybody that doesn't conform to the political speech that aligns with them. And it was even interesting and a step further that President Trump just last week started threatening to possibly revoke the licenses of broadcasters that say too many bad things. And I'm paraphrasing, but you know what he said, like, if you guys have seen him speaking about this, he was like, there's so much negativity about me. We need to revoke these licenses. And I think he's misunderstanding and misusing and often even considering abusing the government in ways, like you said, if private companies don't agree with it, that's fine. But the president should not be inserting himself on whether he's covered unfairly or not. Also, part of that coverage, which conservatives have complained about, bred a slew of conservative outlets that should be amazing for people that felt like there was lack of a voice to level the playing field. I mean, even Reason, where you work, Newsmax popped up in recent years. I mean, we're having multiple different outlets to provide.
Well, Democrats have tried to throttle all those. So that's
but they're here.
The blowback
they're
here is conservatives say, well, but Democrats tried to get Newsmax taken off the air. They tried to get Fox taken off the air.
And also with the FCC, I think it's just wholly wrong. So if you understand what the FCC is governing, they're looking at things like, are you running commercials to children? That's against the FCC rules. Is there indecency in the programming?
Right.
That's against the FCC rules. So no matter what you think about Jimmy Kimmel said.
You and I had to familiarize ourselves with
I had to read through all of it.
We're on
yes, we went to an actual seminar about it. But
we were given bars of soap and told to scrub out our mouths.
And we're also under a news division now. So we have to try to be accurate or attribute what we're saying. But with Jimmy Kimmel, people don't understand that he's under the entertainment division at ABC. So it's important to understand the differences between that. And even though he reports a lot of the news through his purview, he's still under the entertainment division. Right. So that's an important distinction.
He should be accountable to his viewers, accountable to the market. He's accountable to his bosses, to the network. The FCC needed not say anything about this matter. I wish they hadn't. But we'll discuss it more when it's time for Your Lens.
We will.
Next up, the president is speaking over the weekend. He did speak over the weekend, rather, at an emotional memorial service for Charlie Kirk. We'll be discussing all of that fascinating, very moving tribute to Charlie Kirk coming up next.